Okay, this presentation will be on the latest version of the Internet rechartering system. When you first go into this system, you will see that this is for version 12, which is for units that expire on December 31st or after, which is when all of our council's units expire. There's a great list of frequently asked questions that you can look at, and I would recommend that your unit processor take time to do that. So when the unit processor first goes in, even if they've used this system in the past, in past years, they must go in as a first time user this year and register. Okay. And then subsequent times they'll have an ID that they'll be able to log in. So I mentioned the frequently asked questions. There's also, once you get into the system, there's a brief interactive tutorial and help that can help you. So when they ask to register, they'll put in that access code that was emailed out to the committee chair and the unit leader. They'll put in their unit type, troop, pack, or crew, or ship, their unit number. If I remember right, you have to put a leading 0 in. So if your pack number is 123, you have to put in 0123 there. There's a confidentiality agreement you need to agree to. As part of the registration, they put in your name and your contact information. Very important to have this in because if there are questions about your renewal, we need to be able to contact the person that's coordinating it as your unit processor. So there are different stages that you walk through. And there's 5 total stages that you'll progress through. And until you actually submit, you can actually go back and redo some of these. The preferred method to load the roster in stage 1 is to load the council information. There is an ability to load from third-party software as well, but the preferred way is to do it from the council information, so that a lot of times what tends to happen is people keep their local unit management software up to date and not the BSA data, and you really want to make sure you do that. Once you get into stage 2, that's where you're going to be updating your roster, and there's a whole bunch of steps to that, but essentially it's updating the roster. If you ever, sometimes, if you've done all the work we talked about prior to this presentation in the prior segment, that you have turned in all your applications and everything's up to date, this is like a 5-minute process, okay? Because it's already all done. But if you're adding people and changing things, it can take a while. So if it takes a while, you could go over days, you can go up and save your work up here, okay? With this gear up in the upper right. You are not able to change your chartered organization in this system. If you need to do that, contact your district commissioner and we'll help you do that. But if, for example, the address is wrong for them in the system, you can change the address for them. So your next step is for your roster, you're going to select from your current roster who is going to renew for next year, for 2021. And so you will check off those people. If you've been in the system and then you turned in some applications because you realized that some of the people in your unit weren't actually registered, and you turned in their applications and the registrar got them in the system, you can go up here and you can refresh your roster. You can update it so that they're going to be listed here then. And you can do that every time you come in here if you want. So after you do that, it's going to show who you're going to be renewing. If there's anything incorrect, you can back up and make the changes. So at this point, you can start looking at a draft of what your charter renewal application is going to look like. It's going to show you a summary followed by your roster of the actual names and adult positions. A couple points here. One, the draft version will say draft. You cannot turn in the draft to council as your final. It has to be the final version, not the draft. because this one doesn't have the approvals or signatures on it. I wanted to point out why I was in here, the council fee. This combines both the youth council fee as well as the adult one. So it could be so many, in this case, it's 13 youth and 9 paid adults for a total of 22. And those amounts, for example, in our council, it's going to be $60 per youth and $5 per adult. The multiple adults, I wanted to explain that. What they mean by a multiple, and it's the same thing with youth, although that's less common. Although it does happen between troops and crews where they're members of both units. Say somebody is a cub master in the pack and they are an assistant scoutmaster in a troop. Not uncommon. Also, the charter org rep is going to be listed on multiple rosters. Only one has to pay for them. So you get to decide amongst the units who's going to pay and who's going to list them as a multiple. You do have this option to promote members. This doesn't get used a whole lot, to be honest, and because you need the access codes for other units. But this is where you're moving somebody from the pack to the troop. Typically, that would have already been done as part of the crossover process. So again, this is around promoting members. If you need to add a new member, so far you've identified which of your current members you're going to renew. If you need to add a new member, you can add a new adult, and you have to put in all the information. They have to have their youth protection completion date. Don't put this date in unless they show you a valid certificate, because you're going to have to turn that in with their application. Again, this is why you want to do it ahead of time so you don't have to do it in here. Same thing for new youth. You'll put in their information. So once you get in all of your new adult and youth members, you're going to, you can update their member data. You're going to see what their youth protection date is, which you probably already saw that from training manager, but this is going to have the same information then within the system, what position they're currently in. Then you have an opportunity to change positions. If somebody has gone from being a den leader to a Webelos leader, as an example, or a committee member to a den leader, that type of thing, that you can update that here. So then you will run a check roster. And what that's going to do is make sure that you have those minimum number of people on your roster that we talked about in the last segment, that you have your charter org rep and your committee chair and your unit leader and a couple of committee members, etc. If you have any errors or warnings from that check, they'll come up and you'll need to correct those. Now it doesn't mean that, everything is actually correct. So if somebody is serving as a scoutmaster now, and they're still in here as a committee member, it doesn't know that, right? It's just checking to see if you have the minimum number of people, right? So you really have to pay attention to this, of make sure you have people in the right roles. Okay, you have the ability to update people's personal contact information. Once you get everything corrected, it'll say that it's completed without errors. Again, it's according to its checks, not necessarily that every piece of data is correct. That's up to you. So once you get to this point, your roster is completed, it's validated. This is the point where you're going to want to get a draft out, and you're going to want to review that with your commissioner to make sure that you got everything right and ready to go. And they'll go through the validation worksheet with you and make sure that all any other paperwork that you need to be turning in for applications and whatnot, that you have all that ready to go. and that your payment's correct, so that, you know, we don't have to worry about that. So once you get past that, the last stage here, you're going to be identifying who is getting a Boys Life subscription, who are those multiple registrations, the people that are in multiple units that just one unit is paying for. And so if you're not paying for them, and again, make sure you agree on that with the other units. Not everybody doesn't get to say multiple and nobody pays. One unit has to pay. So you can update those. You're going to verify if every address is receiving Boys Life, then you are what's called a 100% Boys Life unit. And if you're doing Journey to Excellence patches, you can get, you know, the version that says 100% Boys Life on it. One problem we run into occasionally on this is where, say, you'll have a couple of siblings in a unit, but the addresses are slightly different. Say somebody says Road Out Drive and the other one says DR, the abbreviation. You want to make sure that those addresses are exactly the same. Okay, then we get to the point where the approval of the roster, and this is a little confusing. If you want to sign the charter electronically, again, only one person's logging into this system, right? And normally you never share your username and password with anybody to get in any system. But what you're essentially doing here is you're saying, okay, I'm going to have the executive officer approve this, and you say I or we agree, and you select next, and it's electronically approved. That's not exactly proving anything. So you may, if you're doing that, you want to make sure that you have some kind of an indication, maybe email or you know, some kind of indication that says that they actually are approving it and that you're not just doing it to get around them.
Bill, if I can also add,
Thank
as
you.
if you do choose to sign your charter electronically, what will happen is once you've pressed that button submitted, they will automatically receive an email saying that this has been approved by that charter rep or the institutional head. So be aware that, you know, you must communicate with them, because the last thing you want is for them to get surprised, hey, I didn't approve anything.
Yeah, that would be a bad day for a lot of us. So if you're not signing electronically, if you're going to print it out and get people's physical signatures, say, we do not agree, which again, the language of this is a little odd, but that's what you do. You click on we do not agree and select next. Your next option is going to be how you pay. And our council is recommending that you choose the pay direct to council. And there's a couple of reasons for this. One, if you pay by credit card or e-check, it's not going to our council directly, it's going to national. And for various reasons, if it isn't the correct amount, it can be very difficult to get the refunds and the additional monies. It gets to be a real pain. So they're saying pay direct to council. This would be if you did pay by credit card. The other reason not to pay by credit card is you don't want to be spending 3% of the total. That's money that could be going towards your program instead of credit card fees. So if you selected pay direct to council, it's going to tell you to submit it to the local council for payment. That's if you had done e-check, same problem, that goes to national. There is no way to pay electronically with our council right now. If you want the council to charge your unit deposit account, the account that you have with the council, sometimes units use that for advancement items at the council store, as an example. So if you have enough money in there to cover what you owe, you can check that box and it'll come out of there. But that means you would have had to submit a check for that amount previously to cover the charges. Okay, so when you're satisfied, you submit to council. It'll confirm that you're doing that, because once you submit it, you can't make any changes to this. It'll ask you a survey of what you think. And then you have the opportunity to print your charter renewal application. Make sure you do so at this time. Okay. It's going to print out something that looks like this. If it was approved, and in this example, it was approved online and it was paid online, but if there would be signature lines, if it wasn't approved online, if you're getting physical signatures, and it's going to list out all of the fees. Again, the one difference for PACs would be that for Lion and Tiger adult partners, there's an additional $5 charge that our local council charges that does not show up in here. Okay, so that's going to be over and above what is shown here. And that is it. Do we have questions, Andrew?
Yeah, Bill. So a few things that I can just say for the group. A lot of the questions were very similar. And so the first thing is if you're the unit processor, and there are some reports that you need in order to be able to complete the charter. For example, a roster, youth protection, when their dates are coming up. Your key three has access to all of those reports through my.scouting.org. So it's really important that if you are the unit processor, please, you need to make sure that you work with the key three to be able to get you those reports, especially for those who are coming off, who are changing positions, whatever it may be, so that you can know what exactly you need to do. The other question that came up is for institutional head changes. It happens if for some reason your institutional head is going to be changing, you have a new one. When you do print out the roster, they don't need to fill out an adult application because they are the institutional head. They're also a non-paying member. So what will happen is that when you have that new IH, what you'll do is when you print out your charter, on the very top of the page, it actually says your institutional head name. You can actually cross it out, just put in their information right there. Another question that,
Andrew, if I can, it might be confusing to some people. Institutional head and executive officer are the same thing. Those terms are used interchangeably.
Thanks, Bill. Another question that came up a couple of times is regarding the multiples. So as Bill had already mentioned, if you are a primary, if for example, if I'm in a pack in a troop and I'm going to be primarily registered in a pack, which is A-OK, when the troop roster is happening and when they come up to your name, Andrew Nam, it'll say Andrew Nam's this role, blah, blah, blah. When you go to, there's going to be one section that will give you all the prices of every individual member. And next to that price is going to be a little button that says update. So if I'm paying as primary registrant in the pack, when I will pay my, $42 plus the $5 fee. When I'm in the troop roster, whoever your unit processor may be, when your name pops back up, you can click on that update number right next to the price. And it'll ask you the question, is this person a multiple? And then it'll say, okay, multiple, where is this person primarily registered? And then you would say pack so-and-so. And then when you update, it will automatically change that $42 to $0. Another question is obviously about youth protection training is all through my.scouting.org. You want to take the mandatory youth protection training course. It is broken up into 4 components. Some people are getting confused about this. So you have to take all 4 components in order to complete the entire youth protection training. So when you think you're done with the first module, you're not. There are 3 more modules that you have to complete. One of the modules is the exam that you will have to complete. Now, there has been lag in terms of receiving an email notification regarding youth protection completion. I've seen the youth protection certificate come to me in 5 minutes, and I've seen it come in 24 hours. So you do have to be patient with the system. Especially at this time, people are now trying to update youth protection. So there'll be a lot of people logging in. So if for some reason it's several days later, please let us know. We'll try to figure out. Bill, did you have something?
One other quick comment on that. People sometimes get confused as well when you go to youth protection training. There's the mandatory courses, the 4 mandatory courses that Andrew mentioned, and then there's 4 optional courses. Right? You have to take the mandatory courses. We would suggest that you also take the optional courses, but those aren't mandatory. So make sure we've had people that have taken all the optional courses and thought they were done.
And then the last one that seemed to be very common is I didn't get my code, or who's gotten my code. So your committee chair and your unit leader have received the code. Again, if for some reason you are one of those two positions and you did not receive an email, please let your district commissioner know. They are happy to help you get that code so that you can pass it out to whoever your unit processor is to be able to start updating the system and to actually get in. The biggest resource, and I recommend you please take time in looking at it, is if you go to our council website, which is bsawcc.org. As under resources, you'll see internet rechartering. We did spend a lot of time in updating that. And if there are questions on the very main page, you will actually see all the, oh, thank you, Bill. You will actually see all the contact emails for each of the district commissioners based off of which district you are. Now, if you don't know what district you are, then you can just send a note to our council commissioner or Anna Marie or myself. We're happy to get you to the right person, obviously, to get you your code. And obviously, if there are questions about how to do something, I will tell you the first time a little history about me. I used to be a unit leader. I've done recharting, I've done the online system. And a lot of times the one that kind of messes me up is the youth protection training. So it's really important that you use my.scouting.org and check all the dates of all of your current registered leaders and when they're going to expire. You want to make sure that you stay on top of it. It's really important that could be your biggest delay in turning your charter on time, is literally waiting for people to do their youth protection. So as Bill had mentioned, that recommended timeline that's out there is to really encourage you to stay ahead of the curve, because we know that there are going to be some people that don't immediately do youth protection. As soon as you say, hey, you're expiring, please take it. We all get that. We all understand life is busy. So it's important to try to stay ahead of it as much as possible. There was one question. So for tiger and lion parents who are going to be registered, when you fill out a youth application form, it's going to have for tigers and lions, obviously it's going to be the youth information on the top, and the bottom portion is going to be the parent information. Whoever that parent information is going to be the one that will be charged the $5 as their partner. As Bill is bringing it up right here, you'll see the very top part will be all the youth information, and then whoever is going to be that point contact as a parent legal guardian information, that's going to be the person that gets charged the $5 to register as a tiger or lion parent. Let's see if there are any other questions. Those were the main questions that I saw. And again, I really encourage you to go on the website. It does have on the left side, there are all these options for you to be able to look at, some guides, tutorials. Everything that Bill has presented is on here as well. And obviously the local council service fee financial assistance application is also available. It is a online form that gets directly sent to the council. This is to be filled out by a parent. So there were questions about who actually fills out this form. It's the parent that fills out the form. The reason why is that some of the information is personal. So it's very important that obviously that the parent will know these answers, so they'll be able to fill it out. And what will happen is that as a decision is made for only the council service fee, so we have no control over national fee, we have no control over the new member fee, we only have control of our council service fee, and that is what we can help you with. So I encourage them to fill it out as thoroughly as possible. When it gets submitted, we do have a volunteer structure that will be working to review this and get answers back not only to the parent but also to the unit leadership, so then that way they can make sure that as they're doing their rechartering, your bill might be $2,000, but based off of whatever assistance you receive, it'd be 2,000 less whatever that amount would be. And obviously Anna Marie, who is our registrar, she'll be processing these. She will also have that information to make sure all the numbers add up. So one question was, how do we know if we are registered in the system and as a multiple. So if you go to your my.scouting.org profile, it'll actually show you all of your current registrations. What will happen is on the top left icon, when, oh, actually, I think Bill's going to log in for us right now. If you go under menu, you will actually see what registrations you currently have under your profile. And then right where it says active positions. So as you can see, Mr. Cameron here has multiple positions in the BSA. However, you'll see the little green check mark is his primary registration. So that would be where his paid registration is. And all these other roles as unit commissioner, district member at large, merit badge counselor are all multiple positions. Another question was, if the boys get Boys Life magazine, what magazine will the girls get? So right now, the answer is they will also get Boys Life if they chose that option. That is for national. I assume we'll be working on that and figuring out a name change, but at the current moment, it's still called Boys Life. So if they choose to change it, that is up to national, and the scouting magazine will have to determine that. We have no control at the local council. Those seem to be all the, I think I've caught up to all the questions. Like I said, Bill Cameron is going to share all this to all the participants along with a video recording. We're also going to be offering another tutorial at the beginning of November for any follow-up questions, any concerns, comments. And obviously, any of us are available to help you. Bill had mentioned at the very beginning, obviously, we unfortunately do not have field staff currently available. Obviously, I'm here though to help you as best as I can. And again, I'm a resource to all of you, to Bill Cameron. We're here to help you to move this along. We understand this year is very unique, very different, and we're all in this together. So I appreciate your time and everything you do and being on here with us and supporting scouting. And Bill Cameron, myself, the district commissioners, we're here to help. So thank you very much. Bill, any closing words from you?
Just thank you everyone for attending. I hope it was helpful for you. If you could, please let us know if you have additional questions. And just thank you for continuing to provide scouting to our youth, especially during these really challenging times. So thank you and good night.